Alright guys, ZFR Gaming back here again today, and this is going to be my review for the Witcher 3 Blood and Wine DLC. Now, I beat the DLC earlier this week if I'm correct, so yeah, like I've had time to kind of reflect on it and stuff and get my thoughts together. And I would be lying to you if I said that I really had anything to complain about when it comes to this DLC. Now, for those of you who don't know, like I am a huge fan of The Witcher 3 in itself. Like it definitely is my favorite game of all time. At the same time, I'm going to try to be as unbiased as possible. And if I think there's something that could possibly bother some people, I will let you know. But yeah, pretty much getting into this, like I'm gonna go over a couple of different sections. I'm just gonna make this a quick one, and I'm just gonna kind of wing this review since, like I said, there's not much negative to say. Like I'm just gonna kind of wing it here. So starting off with the story. The story for this DLC was amazing, outstanding. All right, that's all I'm gonna say really. Like, pretty much like it takes you to the new land of Toussaint, obviously. And Geralt is hired to slay this beast, and the story takes some really interesting turns. I have to say, I kind of didn't know 100% what to expect from the story in this DLC, but I'll tell you, it definitely went in a direction way better than anything I could have ever had hoped for. But yeah, like the story's awesome. There are a lot of new characters, like, well, not too many, I guess, but more than enough. Like, and they are all incredibly interesting. Like, CD Projekt Red has done a great job of just making all-around strong characters. Like, for instance, the Duchess, Anna Henrietta, like her character is great. I just liked her character on screen because she was just like all fiery and kind of like you knew that she was in charge of the situation from start to end. Like it's her land. She is the one calling the shots, and like she's a good leader. Like so she's not ignorant or anything like that. Like it was like she was a good character. Then you also got to meet up with an old friend of Geralt's again, and pretty much like this character, I really love this character. Like I didn't expect to like him as much as I did when they were talking, like when there were rumors about him being in the DLC. Cause I didn't read the books, so I didn't know what to expect from this guy, but yeah, he was a great addition to the Witcher 3 lineup for characters. So yeah, like that's all I'm gonna really say about him because I don't want to go into spoilers. I know some people count that as a spoiler, but that was a great character addition. And then there are a few other roles in there, but I would say none of them are quite as big. Like you meet a lot of other interesting people, and but like I said, I'm not gonna get into too many of the other ones because they're all spoilers. But yeah, like moving on from that, like let's talk about I want to kind of go into gameplay, but before I do that, I just want to kind of go into all the new things that this DLC added. First, a ton of new enemies. That is like I was so impressed with the amount of enemies they added and like the variety in the enemies. Like you just got a lot of enemies that you didn't see in the main game. Like to be honest, like there were so many new enemies in this game. Like there were so many new enemies in this DLC, not this game, but like there's so many new ones. I barely ever saw the old ones from the main game. Like that's how many there were, and it didn't felt like there was a lack of new enemies. It felt like you were constantly running into something new on different missions and Witcher contracts, like enemies like from the books, and like it was just awesome, dude. And I just really enjoyed it. Like the different way, for those of you who don't know, like The Witcher 3, I hear a lot of people complain about the combat a lot because like the combat system isn't the deepest out there, but like The Witcher 3's combat is amazing because the thing about The Witcher 3's combat is not about like all of these fancy controls or whatever. It's more about using like thinking tactically and knowing how to deal with your enemies and using potions and signs while also using your swords to kind of do damage to enemies and wear them down. Like, and that's what I really like about the Witcher 3's combat. And there's a lot of new stuff in that department too. Like, for instance, there's the new mutations and stuff which add a whole mix to the combat and stuff. Like, there's a lot of different things you can do with mutations and all that, and I thought that was really fun to see. But yeah, I'm not even gonna go too far into those, because you know there's a lot of cool things they do. Like, I'm sure everybody's heard about the one that makes it where Arad freezes people or has a chance to freeze people. Yeah, there's a lot of fun stuff like that. But then there's some really awesome OP ones that you can also get in there once you level that up a little bit more. Now, to the map of Toussaint, like, Toussaint is an awesome map. Like, I'm not gonna lie, I was kind of slightly worried about Toussaint, for this simple reason. I like the idea of a really happy green fairy tale land and everything, but I was worried that that was all it was gonna be for the whole DLC. That was not the case. Like, it definitely went past that. Like, the wet, like, it looked so different when it rained and stuff. Like, it just changed the aesthetic completely, and at night it felt really different and all of that. Like, the land just didn't feel like a static environment. Like, it felt like the changes, like with the weather and stuff, were so made, like, they were just like more drastic than like you would get in Velen or Skellige when it rains or something. Like, you know, you're still in the countryside or you're still running around mountains. And this, like, it just, I don't know what it was, but it was just amazing. And it was just amazing, like, every time, like, you start heading back towards the main city, which was built, I believe, it looked like it was on the side of a mountain. So, like, you could almost always see it, and it was awesome. And it went over the mountain and down the other side of the mountain, so it was like amazing design for the city. Like, the graphics and like the visuals were just outstanding. Like, don't even worry about that. Like, those were pretty freaking great. Now I'm gonna get back to like, let's talk about I'm gonna say, let's go over, well, really, there's not much else to go over. Like, I mean, I don't want to give away certain things in the story. Like, I mean, there were a lot of interesting things, like side missions and stuff. As for the side missions, like, they were kind of, there were some that I know people might have a problem with, a slight problem. I've already heard people complain about some of the more silly ones. But I'm okay with them. I don't have a problem with there being a little comedy here. And let me just say, Blood and Wine does have a lot of comedic moments in it. Like, there was this one side mission where you had to go to a bank to get some money some guy had left behind for you. And let me just say, that was a freaking hilarious mission. Like, it took such a fun turn. But, yeah, there's a lot of stuff like that in the DLC as well. Like I said, I know some people out there specifically have a problem with that. I don't think they're the majority, but still, there's some people out there that are going to have a problem with that for whatever reason. But yeah, for the most part, the side missions were really detailed, and they felt like story missions of their own, and they only added to the game. But, yeah, other than that, I've gone over pretty much everything. I went over story, I went over, characters, I pretty much covered gameplay. Like, there's not much else to the gameplay besides, like, the new enemies and, like, a few, new things that come with the mutations. But like I said, I'm not gonna go into all of that. But yeah, other than that, like, there's not much else with gameplay. The controls, let me just say, if you're one of the people who stopped playing The Witcher 3 way back when, the controls in this game feel so much better at this point. Like, it's just a lot funner this point in time. Like, combat, in my opinion, in The Witcher 3 is not bad. Like, in my opinion, I feel like it's definitely gotten better in a way. I don't know what they did, but it feels a little smoother. It feels a little more precise than before. It might be something they did in a patch. Like, they might have just done a tiny bit of tweaking, or it might have just been a few abilities that I missed early on. But combat in the game feels really fun and diverse. So yeah, like, other than that, like, there's not really anything else left to say. Like, The Witcher 3 Blood and Wine was a really awesome last adventure for Geralt of Rivia, and that's the important thing to remember throughout this entire DLC. This is Geralt's closing story. This is the last piece of the game he's going to be in, or this is the last Witcher game that's going to focus around him. This is the end of his story, and let me just say, they end it in a really nice way. Like, you feel like after everything Geralt has gone through, and you've seen him go through, like, you really can just be satisfied with the endings they give you in this DLC. And let me tell you, the endings are brutal. If you watch my walkthrough, you know I got the bad ending again. I'm gonna play it again and try to get the good ending. But yeah, the bad ending was like a really emotional kick in the balls, I have to admit. Like, but yeah, like, the DLC was fun. It was awesome. There wasn't really anything to complain about, if you ask me. I feel like the only way you had something to complain about is if you were literally nitpicking at, like, the smallest stuff that only applied to you. Like, I mean, in general, this DLC was a 10 out of 10 all the way, without a doubt, in my opinion. But anyway, guys, that's all for this video. Thank you guys for watching. Don't forget to hit that like button and subscribe if you haven't already, and I will see you guys on the next video. ZFR out, guys.